Hello everybody, this is Dalen with Golden Tier Gaming, and today I'm going to be going over something called Palladium. Palladium Fantasy Role-Playing. Sorry, it's kind of like having problems here. There we go. Out of focus. Palladium Fantasy Role-Playing. It's a pretty fun game. It's not like an average game. It's for those of you who know D&D, it's kind of like that, but the difference is it's actually a bit more complex. Like D&D, I will say, it's fun. It is fun. It actually is fun. I do play with my friends sometimes. We don't always get to play. We try, but not always. But it's still fun. But I want to say that this is just a little more complex in just a few things. D&D gets to be more complex and usually like story, getting involved in the setting and everything like that. And that's not to say this doesn't. This does too. But what's more involved about this is probably going to have to be the combat. D&D, you're getting attacked by a goblin who rolls a 13, and you have, let's say, an armor class of 14. Well, that goblin rolls a 13 against your 14 armor class. It doesn't hit you. No damage. Goblin completely misses. Right? And here, it's different. You got a goblin that's attacking you, and you have an armor rating of, say, 14. And that goblin rolls a 13. The goblin still hits. That is to say, if you don't dodge, because in this you have a chance to dodge. You pick up your 20-sided die, which I'm going to show one of my favorites right here. It's one of my favorites right here. This one. It's a Elven style one. It's really nice, honestly. I like it. Kind of hard to see, but it's one of my favorites. So you pick it up and you roll for your attack or your dodge. And you can also roll to parry, you can roll to entangle, or you can roll to block. If a goblin's attacking and it, say, rolls a 12, and you have an armor class or an armor rating of, say, 15, well, that goblin is still going to hit depending on if you missed. Because if he rolls, say, let's see, what do we roll? I rolled a 19 to strike at a character, right? And the character is going to go ahead and try to block. He rolled a 3, so the character does not block. So the goblin is hitting, and since he rolled a 19 against, say, an armor rating of 14, it goes through the armor, so it goes half and half. So your character has a structural damage capacity, and what that is how much you can physically take before you start taking damage to your hit points. So, let's say you have a structural damage capacity, a physical one, of 25. And your armor has a structural damage capacity of 33. And we'll say the goblin does 2d6 damage, 2 6-sided dice. So the goblin rolled a 5. So, and usually that splits up between the armor's structural damage capacity and the physical structural damage capacity. So you could usually people decide to put the most towards the armor and the lowest towards the physical. So 3 will go to the armor and 2 will go to the physical. When you're out of your physical structural damage capacity, you take damage to hit points. That's really getting into this, though. Probably save a lot of it for a little bit later. Essentially, this is different. Let's just go ahead and let's go over just to in here. So you got the glossary of role-playing terms. You've got what you need, Imagine the scene, imagine the setting, imagine the character. Basically, you want to picture... Basically, you want to use your imagination. So, imagine the scene, picture stone stairs leading down into the earth. At the bottom of the stairs is a room. It may have once been a basement, a cellar, or one of many chambers of a dwarven city. The brick walls are covered in dust and cobwebs. With every step you take down the stairs, your feet create a little cloud of dust. At the bottom of the stairs, if you look around, the entire cellar lies before you. Imagine the setting. A foul odor is mingled with the musty basement air. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, you realize there is an opening in the wall behind the stairs. If there was ever a door, it's rotted away or fallen off. Consequently, all you can see is the dark rectangular shape of the doorway, where what feeble light there is tries to penetrate. From the blackness rises a hoarse, inhuman chuckle, and the rattle of bones skittering across the stone floor. Like a cameraman in a film, the scene is established, and now our attention is focused on a specific setting. Now you imagine the character. Let me move this a little over just in case. So, now here comes the tricky part. You are not in the cellar, but there is somebody whose eyes you see through. That person is your character, an imaginary individual that is your playing piece in the game. Just like an actor assuming a role for a movie, you play a fictitious character in the game. It is your imaginary character who is standing at the bottom of the staircase, eyes squinted, trying to peer into the darkness. It is your imaginary character who is a wizard with magic powers and who reacts and interacts with the other playing pieces, the other characters. Normally, you will spend an hour or so developing your player character. Once the character has been created, you will probably continue playing it for many weeks, perhaps even years. It's essentially the same thing as D&D. What you need is paper and a pen for taking notes and keeping track of equipment, experience points, and other data you may feel is important. Your character log sheet. Over 20 character sheets are provided in Palladium Book Number 3, Adventures on the High Seas. These sheets can be photocopied and used for your personal use and enjoyment. Dice. You need about... let's see here. Let me grab something here. Bum, ba, bum, bum. Now, you don't need this many. I just collect all the hell. So, what you need is 2 4-sided dice. So, let me find a couple here. Got one in my hand. Here's another. So 2 4-sided dice right here. Little pyramids. Right? Need those. 4 6-sided. So here's 2, 3, and 4. Then you will also need 2 10-sided dice, or also known as percentiles. So let's see if I can find those in here. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 bum. Where is it? With so many dice, you gotta look and look and look. It gets tricky, honestly. 2 10-sided dice. You got the 10s and you got the 1s. Percentiles. And 2 20-sided dice. So, got your 1 20-sided die right here. And let's pick another one just because. 20-sided right here. Let's go with that one. Okay. So, we've got the dice we need. 4 6-sided, 2 4-sided, little pyramids, 2 20-sided, and 2 10-sided dice. Perfect. That's what we need. Right? Next. Dice-wise. Then there's source books, world books, and adventure books. All are supplements published to expand on the fictional world. So the source books help you understand, like this is the Palladium Fantasy Role-Playing Game 2nd edition source book. There's the world books, which explain like the environments and areas like that. Also, there's adventure books which have the pre-built adventures, so you don't have to come up with like an adventure for your friends or anything like that. You don't have to. They're good for when you're getting accustomed to the game. You got your glossary of role-playing terms. You got your attributes. These are numbers used to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of your character. For example, PP means physical prowess, how smooth, agile, and quick a character is in combat. A PP of 4 would indicate that the character is pretty clumsy. A physical prowess of 9 or 10 would be an average, well-coordinated character, while a physical prowess of 16 or higher would belong only to characters with exceptional agility and reflexes. Attributes are also a part of a character's overall statistics or stats. Then there's adventure. An adventure is the heroic or sword and sorcery story that the player characters engage in. It is the responsibility of the game master to create and orchestrate each adventure. Then there's bonuses. Many skills and some occupational character classes, such as a mercenary warrior, a wizard, a warlock, things like that. Magic spells, weapons, and other things may provide the fictional character a bonus to strike, parry, dodge, save, and many other things. These bonuses are typically added to a particular combat or melee action. Always be sure to include your character's bonuses. Then there's the campaign, a word used to describe an ongoing game with the same characters. If you play the same characters with the same game master in the same basic game world/setting on a regular basis, then you are in a campaign. A campaign can be one long adventure or numerous adventures of varying length. Character. Every player, except the GM, has a character that serves as an imaginary player piece, also called the player character. Sometimes, because I play this with my friends Calvin and my friend Oliver, there's only the three of us, me, Calvin, and Oliver, so they each play as a character, and I sometimes play as one or two characters. Now, that's non-player characters and characters that I write up, I create using simple little homemade character sheets. Not all of them are homemade, as I said, they can be provided. This one is an example. It's from a Riffs, which is a continuation off this kind of series, but it's like a futuristic style, but it's the same kind of basic layout. Got your pluses to like strike, damage, parry, roll, all that, your name, what you do, whether you're of a good alignment or bad alignment, your hit points, and what your IQ, your mental endurance, mental affinity, and all that is. So sometimes I play as characters, sometimes I play as NPCs or player characters. Then you've got and then back in here, you've got death. Just as in real life, these fictional characters can die. The death of the heroes in comic books or in games is usually a fairly rare event, and hopefully a noble or heroic sacrifice. The amount of death in a campaign usually depends on the individual game master, his players, and the world setting. In the Palladium Fantasy RPG, the world is incredibly dangerous and violent, so death may be commonplace, unless the player characters use their heads, do not take silly chances, and work as a team. Players should only take a character's death calmly. Remember, it's only a game. So you roll up a new one and try to get back into the game with the orientation and personality of the new character. Some players will have a backup character already rolled up and ready to play in case the current character should die. Game Masters, or GMs, should allow players to roll up a new character and include it in the game as soon as it is appropriate for the ongoing adventure. It is no fun sitting out a game for long periods of time. However, characters should not be a dime a dozen, or killed on a whim or because of a personal conflict between players and Game Master. Then there's the dice. We already went through that. There's the six-sided, call them D6. There's the D4. Then that's the one with the four sides, looks like a little pyramid. Then there's D8s. D8s are the little eight-sideds. Basically, you take the four-sided dice and stack them on top of each other, essentially. Then you've got D10s, such as this. And then, of course, D20. Get these at any. You could get dice at any hobby store or comic book store, things like that. There's a game session and adventure. Each time you play is considered a game or gaming session. It's very kind of simple. Then you've got your ISP, or inner strength points. Inner strength points are spent or expended every time a character uses a psionic power, which is mental abilities. So it's all so psionics is all mental. It's a thing you can do with the mind. You know, and it's like you can use a telekinetic punch, telekinetic leap, or telekinetic kick. You can also, there's also varying styles. We can get into that later. Right now we're just kind of going over some of the basics, just kind of going through a run through of the little things. Hopefully I'm not talking too fast. Each psionic power costs a certain number of inner strength points to activate and perform. When all inner strength points are used up, the character cannot use any more of his or her psychic powers. Inner strength points are restored at a rate of 2 points per hour while one sleeps or relaxes. They can also be restored through meditation at a rate of 6 points per hour. Only psionic/psychic characters have inner strength points and psychic powers. Magic. Palladium Fantasy RPG and many role-playing games include magic spells, powers, weapons, monsters, although some of these things may be inspired from myths and legends. None of them are real. So that's just kind of explaining what everybody already probably knows, like from D&D and all that. There's the Megaverse, the trademark we use to identify the multi-genre, anything goes, infinite worlds and possibilities at Palladium's one-game systems. Then you've got a natural 20. In all of Palladium's role-playing games, RPGs, the outcome of combat is determined by the roll of a 20-sided die, 1d20. The higher the roll, the better. Many combat rolls get bonuses to strike, parry, dodge, etc. These bonuses are added to the roll of the die. For example, if a 12 is rolled, but a character has a cumulative bonus of +4 to strike, then the roll is modified to 16. A natural 20 is rolling the highest possible number, a 20, without adding any bonuses to the number rolled. A natural 20 never misses unless one's opponent also rolls a natural 20. Very uncommon, but it has happened. Yes, a natural 20 will hit even if an opponent's roll is higher than 20 after bonuses are added to it. A natural 20 also does double damage. So, we all know what an NPC is. NPC's non-player character. Then there's occupational character class. This is the character's educational background and occupational training. It will indicate specific skills, skill selections, goals, orientation, equipment, and salary. An RCC, racial character class, is basically the same thing, but restricted to a specific race. So, it's very simple. Then there's the PCC, stands for Psychic Character Class, as described beyond the supernatural, Nightbane, and Mystic China, and applies to characters who have psychic powers and occupations that utilize those powers. Then there's a player. A player is the person who plays a fictional character in a role-playing game. Then there's PPE, Potential Psychic Energy. Potential Psychic Energy is the energy that magic draws its power from. All intelligent creatures, humans, wolfen, demons, etc., have some level of potential psychic energy. That level is minimal in most humans, but immense in practitioners of magic, creatures of magic, and supernatural beings, particularly gods and demons. Practitioners of magic draws on his PPE, potential psychic energy, to cast spells and perform magic. Most types of magic only temporarily use potential psychic energy points in a similar way as ISP. Mystic energy can also be found along ley lines and contained in some magic artifact. And a ley line is essentially like this invisible, almost like imagine like a telephone wire just running across one end to the other. And what you've got is a ley line. It spans all across the world. It's like a grid. So you've got this invisible grid of like magic energy stored in like a simple like one little line just spanning across the entire known world. There's also points where many of those intersect, and those are called nexus points. Those are where magic can be strongest. So, and then there's roll a 20-sided, simply roll a 20-sided die for a number. Typically, the higher the roll, the better. Roll to strike, the roll of a 20-sided die to determine whether or not the attacking character hits his opponent. Typically, the higher the roll, the better. Roll percentile. Take two 10-sided dice, each with different colored numbers. Let's say we have one with black numbers and one with red. Or you can simply just have an actual set which has a 10s and a 1s. But if not, but it's usually cheaper to get mixed match colors. So yeah. So let's say we have one with black and one with red. First, you declare which die will be higher. I call red high. Next, you roll the pair of dice. First, you read the high die, then the low die. Just put the numbers together and you have a percentile. For example, red is 4, green is 8, so your roll is 48%. Run. This is just a term gamers use to describe playing a game. Example, he runs an excellent campaign, or I ran in Kevin's game last week. Then there's a saving throw. This is a roll, usually on a 20-sided die, to avoid some unpleasant event, magic spell, psionic attack, poison, horror factor, or danger. For example, a character might have to roll a saving throw to avoid being overcome by a magic cloud or to resist the effects of a spell. So, and then we got right here the 8 attributes. So you've got the first steps in creating a character is to roll up the 8 attributes: your IQ, mental endurance, mental affinity, physical strength, physical prowess, physical endurance, physical beauty, and speed. The 8 attributes represent your character's natural, mental, and physical abilities. Some of the physical skills, races, OCC bonuses, and superhuman abilities will increase a character's physical attributes. So let's go over some of this, shall we? So 3 6-sided dice are rolled to determine each attribute for a typical human, but some of the non-human characters may get fewer or greater number of dice to roll. In addition to the racial character summary chart in this section, each description of the many races will indicate how many dice to roll for each attribute. For example, an orc only rolls 2 6-sided dice to determine the character's intelligence, but 4 6-sided dice for physical strength. In all cases, the higher the number, the greater the ability. If an attribute is exceptional, then an additional 6-sided die is rolled and added to the total for that attribute. Now, an exceptional roll for humans would be you roll 3 6-sided die. 3 6-sided dice is a roll of 16. If you roll 3 6-sided dice and it is a roll of 16, 17, or 18, if any of these numbers are rolled, the player gets to roll an additional 6-sided die and add it to his total. If a 6 is rolled, the player adds the 6 to his or her character's attribute and gets to roll another 1d6, another 1 6-sided die, again, and add that number also to his character's total attribute number. However, even if the last roll is a 6, the player does not roll again. So you roll 3d6 and you get, say, 16, 17, or 18. You roll another 6-sided die, that's a 6. So you roll a 5th one, and even if that's a 6, you've only rolled 5, and that's all you can roll. Non-human characters who get an additional attribute roll of 2 6-sided dice get to roll 1 additional 6-sided die if the roll is a 12. You've got skill bonuses. Many of the physical skills a player can select for his character offers additional attribute bonuses. For example, wrestling offers a +2 to your physical strength and physical endurance. So if the player has already rolled a total of 16 for physical strength, he adds another 2 for a total physical strength of 18. If his physical endurance roll was 8, he adds 2 for a total of 10. All physical skill bonuses are cumulative. A player can enhance and adjust the physical power of his character through the careful selection of physical skills. Some occupational character classes also offer attribute bonuses, or may offer other bonuses on skill performance or on initiative, saving throws, and others. All of these are added to the character's overall abilities. Magic spells and enchanted items may also provide special bonuses, but these are temporary and fade with the magic. So I'm going to go over the 8 attributes. So you got the intelligence quotient, indicates the intelligence of the character. The exact IQ is equal to the IQ attribute multiplied times 10. Characters with an IQ of 16 or better will receive a one-time bonus added to all the character's skill percentages. Mental endurance measures the amount of mental and emotional stress the character can withstand. Those with a mental endurance of 16 or higher will receive a one-time bonus to save versus psionic attacks and insanity. Mental affinity shows the character's personal charm and charisma. Natural leaders with a mental affinity of 16 or higher have a bonus to evoke trust or intimidate others. Physical strength. This is raw physical power of the character. Physical prowess shows the degree of dexterity and agility of the character. A physical prowess of 16 or higher is rewarded with bonuses to dodge, parry, and strike. Physical endurance demonstrates the character's stamina and durability. The amount of physical punishment and resistance to fatigue and disease are determined by physical endurance. Characters with a physical endurance of 16 or better receive bonuses to save versus coma, death, toxins, and magic. Physical beauty. Physical beauty, an indication of the physical attractiveness of the character. A physical beauty of 16 or better indicates exceptional attractiveness, beauty, and is rewarded with a bonus to charm and impress. Speed. This is specifically the character's maximum running speed. The speed times 20 is the number of yards or meters that the character can run in 1 minute. The greater the speed attribute number, the faster the character can run. And here is the bonus chart, ranging from 16 all the way to 30. You get all these different bonuses. If you have a physical beauty of 30, you get a 92% to charm and impress. In other words, if you're trying to charm someone or impress them, they have to get above a 92%, which is really, really hard. There's the different applications of physical strength and attribute notes. Weight movements. Normal characters with a physical strength of 3 to 16 can carry 10 times their physical strength in pounds. So physical strength times 10 equals total in pounds. For example, a character with a physical strength of 9 can carry 90 pounds, and a character with a physical strength of 15 can carry 150. Strong characters with a physical strength of 17 or higher can carry 20 times their physical strength in pounds. This means a character with a physical strength of 18 can carry 360 pounds. The supernatural characters are creatures, including dragons, devils, and demons, are even stronger than extraordinary humans. Supernatural beings and creatures, even of magic, with a physical strength of 18 or higher can carry 50 times their physical strength. Thus, a creature with a physical strength of 24 can actually carry over half a ton, 1,200 pounds. Creatures with a physical strength of 17 or less are equal to humans, physical strength times 10 in pounds. Then there's lifting weight. Lifting weight is a little different than carrying weight. You may have noticed yourself that you can usually lift up a heavier amount than you can carry. I'm not talking about weightlifting in a bodybuilding sense, nor lifting a heavy weight above the chest. Simply the ability to bend over and lift something that weighs more than you can carry. The simple rule is that a character can lift twice as much as he/she could carry. This means a character with a physical strength of 9 can carry 90 pounds, but can lift 180 pounds. Meanwhile, the supernaturally strong creature with a physical strength of 24 can lift over 1 ton, 2,400 pounds. And here's a chart for throwing objects, general effective range. Object up to 1 pound object for normal strength humans, 50 feet. Extraordinary strength / giants, 200 feet. Supernatural strength, physical strength 18 and up for the supernatural creatures, 300 feet. And it gives us a range of feet for everything except for up to 10 pounds and 100 pounds for normal strength for humans is none and none. So, very simple. That's just running through throwing and all that. We can get into that another time when we actually start getting into this. even more. This is the supernatural strength and damage table. Get into that a little later, because later on I'm thinking about even just starting up another video where I make a character. For now, I'm just kind of running through it. You've got your speed chart, and here's hit points and SDC. Hit points might best be thought of as life points because they indicate how much physical damage, cuts, bruises, etc. the character can withstand before he/she dies. These are the points that are observed during a battle, or melee, to determine how much damage is inflicted on one's opponents. Each time a character is struck by a weapon, he takes physical damage. The individual players keep score of how many hit points their characters has by subtracting the damage from his or her character's hit points each time that character is hit by a weapon. Likewise, the Game Master keeps score of how much damage the player inflicts upon his opponent. When a character hits 0 hit points, he is in a coma and will soon die unless he or she receives extensive medical aid. When a character's hit points have been knocked far below 0, he is dead and beyond saving. Determining hit points. Base hit points, having rolled up your 8 attributes, you'll recall that one is physical endurance. The physical endurance score indicates a character's base/starting amount of hit points. This number means that the character can lose that many hit points before dying. For example, if a character has a physical endurance of 11, he starts with 11 hit points. Some players will have a character with a lot of hit points. Don't get too cocky, a deadly spell or even a knife can whittle you down to size in one melee round, and a supernatural monster might chop a character down with a few punches. Others will find themselves with a character who has only a handful of hit points, as little as 3. Don't despair or feel cheated. You'll just have to use cleverness and cunning to avoid direct confrontations until you've built up your hit points or acquire some body armor. Now, building your hit points. After determining your base hit points, pick up one 6-sided die, roll it, and add the number rolled to your hit points. Only roll one 6-sided die one time. As your character grows in knowledge and experience, he/she will gain more skill and expertise in his chosen profession. At the same time, he will also mature physically, increasing his hit points. Thus, each time a character attains a new experience level, roll one 6-sided die and add that to the existing number. SDC, or Structural Damage Capacity. There are 2 types of SDC. The first applies to living creatures and can be thought of as a supplement to hit points. The second applies to inanimate, non-living structures, such as body armor, chairs, locks, doors, buildings, and so on. Determining physical SDC is simple. Characters with a background as men of arms roll 3d6 for SDC, while practitioners of magic, scholars, and all others roll 1d6 for SDC. This SDC base can be increased further throughout the selection of certain physical skills, such as boxing, bodybuilding, general athletics, and etc. In this way, a player can literally build and toughen a character as much as he or she desires. Some non-human races and OCCs also get special SDC bonuses. All SDC bonuses are cumulative. Monsters, demons, gods, dragons, and supernatural creatures will have additional SDC bonuses reflecting their inhuman toughness. In some cases, this can be 2 or 3 times greater than a human, or 100 times greater. Even so, these creatures are still vulnerable to blade and club, tooth and claw. When a character is injured or hurt, the damage is first subtracted from his structural damage capacity points. Structural damage capacity damage is painful but not deadly. It's like the old movies where John Wayne gets shot, punches it out with 3 desperados, and when it's all over, dusts himself off and says, "Ah, shucks, man, it's only a scratch." SDC in action. It is only after all structural damage capacity has been depleted that damage is subtracted from hit points. Only the rare special attack from magic, psionics, or poison can bypass SDC and strike at hit points directly. Hit point damage is serious and potentially life-threatening. Inanimate objects such as weapons, body armor, buildings, furniture, and so on also have SDC points. In this case, the SDC indicates the total amount of damage that the object can withstand before it breaks, crumbles, or is destroyed. These SDC function exactly like hit points, except that they apply to non-living things. Any damage sustained is subtracted from the SDC. When the SDC is reduced to 0, it is broken or smashed beyond repair. So, I think we will go ahead and stop there for today, just because I don't want to go too far over a certain time limit right now, and it's also just kind of getting late. So, if you liked this, please leave a comment down below, hit the like button. Let me know if you want to see more of this. I'm hoping to do more of this. I'm also hoping to maybe one day go through this with a friend and actually do a video on it. So like a video of just in a quick way teaching him how to play and just doing a short little campaign essentially. So if you liked it, go ahead and leave a like down below. Leave me a comment. If you want to see more, go ahead and let me know as well. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell. So, thank you everyone so much for watching, and I will see each and every single one of you in the next one. Bye!